In this video, I'll go through on setting up a home for your 3D printer. All the dimensions work fine for Ender3 Pro. So as long your printer is the same size or smaller, you would be just fine. I'll discuss some pitfalls and some errors I made, so hopefully you don't make the same one yourself. This enclosure is built using Ikea Lack tables. You will need at least 2 tables, as the cavity is created when on top of each other, and that is where your printer would be sitting. I did decide to get 3, as that would raise the printer to a reasonable height, and I can use the other cavity for my laser printer. At the time of this video, these tables were reasonably priced at £6 each. The cavity itself is enclosed using 5 plexiglass sheets. You will also need to print out some 3D models. This would be used to raise the cavity enough for Ender3 and to lock the tables together. I also printed out something to attach my spooler and a filament flow tube with filter, so the filament wouldn't grind against the table. For the required print models, I searched through Thingiverse, but there wasn't a full set that I was happy with. I liked some things from one design and something else from other. In the description below, you'll find links to the design I have used with breakdown. Finally, you need a bunch of screws. I wish I could be precise with the correct sizes, but I used most of the screws from a variety box, so I have no idea what the sizes were. The ones I do know are number 8 4x20mm wood screws. You need a bunch of them. First thing first, I ordered my tables and printed out all the parts. That was my first mistake. I should have got my plexiglasses at this point. Here is the problem. The design I chose used slots to keep plexiglass in place. This means there are 12 slots on 8 places. Apart from print accuracy for the models and that slot, when you're screwing everything together, you'd have to be super precise. Without that, what you will end up is bowed glass like me. In hindsight, if I did have the glasses from the beginning, I would have noticed it. My recommendation, instead of using slot design, get one with hinged design. I have used hinged for the front doors, and this allows a bit more wiggling room. At this point, I screwed the legs for middle and bottom table. I started with stack corner insert. I have 12 of these. Bottom and middle table top would use 8, and the remaining 4 is screwed on top table legs top. I used some black tapes to ensure that I'm screwing that insert in correct place. After some time, I had 8 of these screwed in place. Then I started on top table legs. Top of the leg with a drilled hole is where stack corner inserts go, followed by all 4 lower corner items. Once done, it would sit on top of the middle table as shown on screen. Next, I screwed 4 stack corner at bottom of the legs for the middle table. Once this is done, I can stack middle table on top of the bottom one. Now I have to screw 4 top corner items to the bottom of top table top. I had a small problem here, as the hole was too wide for any of my screws. So I hammered in a plastic screw plug first, and it was all okay. With that being done, top table can now be stacked on top of the middle table and create our final cavity for printer. Next, I attached spool holder, filament tube, and filament filter box. Here I made my next mistake. My first hole for the tube was too close to the printer center, which caused my filament to grind against the Z screw. One of these days I will create a small cover to cover that hole, but leaving it open would allow the enclosure to be cooler. Note, these models for the spool holders are from T3 link, see in description. For Ender3 power supply, I contend it is better to have it outside the enclosure, as inside it would get quite hot. I drilled a hole to bring it outside and used the model from T5. Next mistake. I didn't notice that this design expected me to drill a hole into PSU box. Well, I didn't do it, and it seemed to hold quite well only with 2 brackets. I will also use this hole for my DHT sensor and LED power. I did print out power supply guard from T1 design, but at the end, I decided to use it to hold my Pi and Pi power in place. I had my plexiglass delivered. After seeing how much it bowed in side and back using the slot method, for front door, I downloaded the design from T4 and used the hinges instead. The handle is still from T1. At this point, my very top tabletop is sitting on the legs using hinges, so it's quite easy to take it off. I had to do that to stick my LED strip to the bottom of the table. So now we have got the final enclosure for my Dorothy. I'm planning to put a filament sensor above the filter and run the wires down to my Pi. My Ender is sitting between top and middle table. Laser printer is between middle and bottom. That gives me some space to store my spools at the very bottom. Well, that's all for this video. I hope it was beneficial to you. Watch out for all my mistakes and have fun.